The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is episode 29 of the Finding Florida podcast on the Florida Podcast Network. Coming to life and the Great Florida Trivia Challenge.
Welcome to Finding Florida, the podcast that takes you from country to the coast. Join your tour guides, an unlikely pair, city girl Jaime and country boy Glenn, as they explore the amazing sights and sounds of the Sunshine State.
On this episode, we present the Florida Trivia Challenge with Jaime playing a very special surprise guest.
Wait, I'm the guest? Oh, this is interesting.
No, you're playing a very special surprise guest.
Okay, all right, I'm buckled in. Let's see where this train takes me.
And I have put the trivia questions about Florida together for you.
Oh, boy.
Shane Whaley from the Tourpreneur Show speaks to us about how tour operators think things are going to go the rest of the year and opening things up and what they've been going through. And we have some fun things to do close to home, all on today's show.
We need the sunshine and palm trees of Florida. Florida, when you need it bad, we've got it good. When you need it bad, come to Florida, we need it bad.
Well, Jaime, we're starting to see Florida come back to life a little bit. We're starting to see inklings of life. And I know that I've seen more traffic around here. And I took my bike down to the Gulf. I wanted to say this is a fun thing you can do, to the Whaley Bay Trail, which is
Wait, I challenge you to say that one more time.
Whaley Bay Trail. It comes out every
I can
time.
already predict how hard my brother's going to laugh.
Yeah. So you go down there to the Gulf of Mexico, and it's near Crystal River, which you and I were at Crystal River. We did one of our episodes from there.
We swam with baby manatees.
You swam for hours with manatees.
I didn't want to come back.
So I took my bike down there. They have this excellent bike trail. It's all paved, about 10 miles long, and it goes from the coast all the way out to the bay through marshlands and stuff. It is so cool. It's a neat ride, and I got to do my bike ride out to there, and it was absolutely beautiful. But what I wanted to say was, it was the first weekend, last weekend, that everything started to open up. There must have been 1,000 boats out on the bay. There were fishermen everywhere. I have never seen so many boats out there.
It was a whole Gulf with just a little bit of water.
And the fish were going, oh, we got a break. And then all these people showed up. So there is life coming back to I don't know how things are down there, but
I actually had a visitor in my home for the first time ever today.
Really?
I did.
Oh.
It was a maintenance worker. He came to fix my toilet and my leaky kitchen faucet. But we social distanced while he was here. And then
did you wear a mask while he was there?
He did. He wore mask, gloves, and shoe covers. And I sprayed fanatically after he was gone.
God, we're all so paranoid now. But let's talk a little bit about that, because I have some general news here about opening and about what's happening in Florida. So Universal Orlando, as we're recording this on Thursday, Universal Orlando is presenting to the Orange County Economic Recovery Task Force today their plan for what they're going to do to get reopened. And then in the next couple of days, Disney World and SeaWorld are presenting their plans. It has to be approved by the governor. And I think this is what we're going to see, judging by Shanghai Disney that opened. And I don't know if you watched that video, but it was very interesting. They took us through everything that they're doing there. But one of the things that has happened already is that Universal reopened City Walk, which is their shopping and restaurant section. And then Disney has reopened Disney Springs, and they have put safety measures in. They are checking for fevers. They also are requiring masks. And that is the thing that has caused the most consternation. When you read
what are you talking about? I never would have predicted that based on social media.
So about half the people on all these posts, and I've been reading all the Disney posts and everything, are just, we're not going to go. If we have to go to Florida in masks, when it's that hot. Well, welcome to our world, first of all.
Right? You got to wear a shirt. You got to wear shoes. You got to wear shorts. Like a mask is just a little extra bit. Come on.
And, we're never going to convince people that aren't going to wear masks that they should. But I have my own theory about one of the reasons they're doing that. One is liability, obviously. Mm-hmm. Insurance companies saying, look, if you're going to reopen, we got to be safe about this. And the lawyers are having a fit, right? But I also think this, they're only going to be opening at 50% capacity anyway when it first starts. And they know that if they require masks, it's going to keep a certain percentage of the population away that they won't have to turn away. Right. So it's kind of a natural selection. They're going to be unselecting themselves from wanting to come in the first place, which is going to keep the numbers down. And right now, they don't care if they keep the numbers down. They kind of want to keep the numbers down and do it kind of in an artificial way rather than a forced way. So they are going to be doing 50% opening, but we don't know what the 50% is a number of. Is it 50% of the Christmas crowd or is it 50% of the September crowd?
It's totally different. And my question is, how are they going to, at the doors, enforce that and deal with the crowds who still, whether it's because of capacity or, just not wanting to wear a mask and still wanting in, whatever it is, how are they going to enforce that and deal with the crowds and all of that stuff? I mean, because we've seen the parking lots and the lines of people, the caravans of families coming into the parks, and it's massive amounts of people. And so if there's like a cutoff, how do you enforce that? Keep people away?
What they did in Shanghai when they reopened, the video was excellent. They took you through everything they did. And what they did is they pre-sold tickets and they cut off, you couldn't buy tickets at the gate.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
You had to buy them ahead of time. And the other thing they did is they actually put markers on the ground where you could stand and where you couldn't stand. And it kept people 6 feet apart.
That might work in Shanghai.
Yeah, that's another good point. But they did it everywhere. The restaurants, the lines for the rides, they had it at such a point. You know how some of the lines of the rides come down one way and then up the next and down? They actually had it blocked off so that no two groups would be standing beside each other.
Interesting.
Now, can you imagine, though, let's take this out. There's one ride, the one roller coaster at Magic Kingdom. We've never been on, the Mine Train, because
I thought you were going to make a joke about me never being. Oh, that's Epcot. I've never been on Space Mountain. I'm too scared.
No. Space Mountain's at Magic Kingdom too, but at Mine Train we've never been on because the line's always 90 minutes on a normal day. Can you imagine now? They actually put markers where you have to stand 6 foot away in the line. The line's going to be out the front gate. I was going to say, you were already
joking about the lines being out the front gate at the park. And now with this kind of a thing, it's going to be, oh my Lord.
Plus, they actually showed they're closing off seats. So nobody's sitting beside each other. In other words, if there's a row here and then another row, that row's empty. And then there's an empty row in between, like on the roller coasters and stuff.
Well, see, here's my question. Is someone coming behind each group of riders, every single group, and spraying these rides down with like tons of Lysol? Because the next group that comes in, they're just sitting in someone else's.
Well, there's a couple things that they're talking about is actually having staff there to wipe them down between each ride, which is going to hold things up, or actually handing people their own towels that when they're done, they have to.
That's not going to work.
They're worried about on the Flume ride, all these towels are going to be in the water. So it's a mess. And that's what they're presenting now.
They've been relying on people to wipe down machines at the gym for decades. It doesn't work.
I bet you it's working now. So that's all the things that have to be dealt with. I can tell you this. Let's say I wasn't one of the vulnerable people, health-wise. I just sounds like something I wouldn't want to do right now. But yet, there's a lot of people dying to go, and people are posting, "I'll go with the mask."
And congratulations to them. Let them be group one. Have at it. I'll let y'all work out the kinks.
Another place that's reopening is the Florida Keys on June the 1st. Hotels and other accommodations will be open to tourists. Businesses that are going to be opening up include hotels, motels, vacation rentals, marina, RV parks, timeshares, and all of that. They'll only be allowed to open at 50% capacity. And again, that's a place where you actually have to want to get to because it's so far out there. So, I think a natural selection there, people really want to go are going to go. But otherwise, I think they're not going to get the casual tourists like you and I who are saying, let's just go to Key West for the weekend. I don't know that that's going to happen. One good thing that happened at Key West is while they were closed down, the main street that goes through there with all the bars and stuff, remember, they paved it. Because it hadn't been paved in so long, it was getting really bad. And they said, well, we'll close down. We might as well pave it. It's the only time we're going to be able to do it.
But the locals are complaining, but that's our charm.
It's beautiful now. And we're going to hear about something from Key West that arrived at your house a little later in the show. One of the cool things that's been happening and that Disney's been doing is they've been issuing on their blog. If you go to the Disney blog, you can look it up. You'll find it. They've been putting out recipes that they've never done before for some of their famous dishes.
Ooh.
And the one I want to try, and I've had this, and I get it every time I go there, is at the 50s Primetime Cafe. which you're going to find. The 50s Primetime Cafe is in the studios. And I always get the pot roast. And their pot roast is unbelievable. And I can't wait to make this recipe. They put their recipe out there. The other recipes that they put out that will excite a lot of people is the Mickey-shaped ice cream. They told you how to make it with very few ingredients. Everybody gets the Mickey-shaped ice cream bars. Mickey-shaped Rice Krispie treats, Dole Whip. They, for the first time ever, put the Dole Whip recipe out. And then the kids' favorite, everybody this kid goes to Disney gets this, is the Disney's grilled 3-cheese sandwich. So that they put that out there and actually disclosed what cheeses they use.
So I have a really dumb question.
Yeah.
Is pot roast pork or beef?
Beef pot roast.
Because I was about to make a joke about you loving your beef because we know you love burgers, you love that. But I was like, am I going to make a dumb joke because it's pork?
And it's definitely beef. I love pork too, but it's definitely beef. The other thing too around the state that has been happening that's kind of cool is a lot of the museums that we visited in all our travels. By the way, I'm really getting itchy to go back out and travel again. This is the longest we have gone in 2 years.
Should I think that is because it's a reflection of me and the joy you have traveling with me? Or is it just you want to get out of the house because you're
I'm going to appease you and say it's you and get out of the house. So I'm going to say it's both.
Smart man.
That helps. Whatever works. But museums all over the state are putting out virtual tours. And one of them is that one we haven't been to yet because we haven't gotten there yet is St. Petersburg, Florida. And that's the Salvador Dalí Museum. And I did take it. I did the tour. It's so cool the way they did it.
So many of his paintings as posters in my college dorm.
Yeah, I knew you did. Actually, I did know that. So it has the largest collection of Dalí works outside of Europe. So when we get to St. Petersburg, we're definitely going to have to check that out. Because I knew you did like that.
Sounds lots of fun.
Yep. And a lot of museums around the state, you can Google them. They probably have a digital tour, and they've been working overtime to make that happen. And by the way, it looks immaculately clean. They've had a lot of time to clean the museums now, too. So speaking of opening up, that seems to be the theme of our show today because we all want to get out of the house, is we have a special guest coming to us. I've met him at a conference years ago, and we've been friends ever since. His name is Whaley. He is from the Tourpreneur Show, where it's a show all Tourpreneur. I love saying it. It's about and for tour operators of all kinds around the world. And we want to talk to him about what they're going through and what they're seeing for the future and how they can open up. So let's talk to Shane, and you're going to love his accent. Well, hi, Shane. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolute pleasure. I'm honored to be here.
Now, Shane, we mentioned that you run a podcast called Tourpreneur, where you deal with tour guides and tour companies all over the world. What a time for them the last 2 months. There's a group that's not used to staying home.
Absolutely. It's horrendous. It's heartbreaking. You know, to give you an example, I was talking to a tour operator up in the great state of Alaska yesterday who was telling me she's drained her retirement funds to pay out refunds to people who'd booked summer excursions with her in the summer. And, you know, very often when we think of tour operators, we think, you know, of the big guys. But the vast majority of tour operators out there are actually really small, you know, one man or woman bands or just a couple of guides. And when you hear stories like that, it's truly, I mean, it's heartbreaking across the board. But for someone to drain their retirement funds, to pay out refunds, you know, this isn't for marketing or whatever else. This is because she felt it was the right thing to do for the customers who'd booked with her.
And it came on so quick, they didn't have time to prepare for this.
No, actually, I was at my local airport. I was flying to Berlin, Germany for one of the biggest trade events for the tours and activity industry. And I was at the gate when word came through, canceled. So I'm at the gate at the airport here in Vermont. And I'm like, do I get on the flight? Do I not get on the flight?
If I get on the flight, what happens? I try to get back.
Yeah, you know, and it was tricky because we all want to be good citizens. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go over there and come back and be the first person to bring it back to Vermont. But then I'm like, I have, you know, a week in Germany booked, a week in London, and I haven't been to Europe in a while. And it was that dilemma of what's the right thing to do here.
Yeah. So, by the way, make a mental note, Jaime, that we need to go to the tourism trade show in Germany.
Yes, we do. And mental note, Shane, can you please just keep talking I mean, gosh, your voice is amazing. I love your accent. This is fantastic.
I'm thrilled to hear that because I've lived in the United States for 10 years now. So when I go home, everyone says I sound like an American.
Man, if only all Americans sounded like this would be awesome.
You don't sound like you're from Vermont or New England. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Well, I'm friendly for a start. I didn't really say that.
I lived in Massachusetts for a lot of years. I get that reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they talk about breaching the 6-foot rule here, I'm like, I'm an outsider in New England. They take 10 years before they say hello, let alone breach the 6-foot rule.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. So what do you see happening? I wanted to have you on because things are starting to open up a little bit. We talked earlier in the show about how Disney and the things that are starting to happen there, and we may see them in operation probably by July, and Universal and all of those. So Florida's starting to open back up. What about the tour operators? It's so risky because they have so many things to take into consideration. Like, will people tour? Number one, will they tour in the numbers they need to make money? There's just so many things to think about.
Absolutely. So there's the question about how do you reassure a nervous traveler? There's also the question of, okay, let's say, for instance, you are a zip lining company here in Vermont. You're used to marketing across the United States. Now they've got to market locally because, for instance, they're not, depending on where you are in the country, but here in Vermont, they're not really wanting people from out of state. Certainly right now, you have to be a Vermonter to stay in a hotel here, which is a weird situation to be in. So, but now that the tour operator or the activity have to learn how to market locally rather
Not
than
only
nationally
that,
or
how do you stay
internationally.
6 feet apart on those trees when you're getting ready to zip line? That's a very intimate thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
The instructor has to be right there next to you, otherwise I'm not going.
Definitely. So you have that challenge of domestic and local tourism. How do you market to them? And also, for instance, I've been in Vermont 4 years. I travel halfway around the world to go to an attraction or to a museum, but I haven't done most of the stuff that's available in Vermont.
That's very similar to how Floridians are.
Yeah. So now all those Florida, tour operators are going to say, okay, how do we get locals to come on our tours and activities? Because it's one of those things that, to be honest, I'm quite embarrassed to say this. I've worked in travel for over 2 decades and I lived in San Francisco for a couple of years and I didn't go to Alcatraz once.
Oh my goodness.
The reason for that was...
Is that why they kicked you out?
Yeah,
that and the accent, both of them together were too much.
Yeah, I mean, and the reason I did not go, because I thought when I get friends from Europe visit me from England, they're all going to want to go to Alcatraz. I'm going to be sick of the place. And when I moved to New York, of course, everyone comes to New York, and I've been to Statue of Liberty many times because everyone wants to go visit. So there are these things that we don't do that are in our backyards. And some of that is also down to marketing. Like, we don't always know what's available and what fun things there are to do in our area. So that's going to be a really big challenge. But for instance, today I put a show out. I interviewed a chap who was in Refuge in Iceland. He runs walking tours. No one's sailing since the Vikings, no one sails to Iceland anymore, right? So you're totally reliant on an aircraft. So, the whole tourism industry is, we're reliant on Iceland Air flying here again, being allowed to fly here before we can get any business. So at least in the US, we have this opportunity where we can market locally and people can drive. And I really do feel this is going to be the year of the road trip.
Yeah.
I think people are going to get in their cars.
The 1950s all over again.
I really think it is.
It's interesting. You're right, because so in Florida and certainly with this show and certainly with the network as a whole, a lot of what we do has been fairly balanced between trying to get more people to visit our state and trying to get the people who live here to just do more of the stuff that's in our backyards already. And so now, as tour guides and tourism people from all over, as they're focused on moving their businesses forward, it sounds like to me, even if they also have had some sort of a split focus on both the outsiders and the locals, or if maybe they had been completely focused on the outsiders. The challenge is now, do they retool their business model to focus only on locals? And if so, how long do they do that for? Do they still try to set it up so they can retool to attract foreigners again in the future? I mean, everything is so much up in the air. How are you finding that people are trying to figure out how do we move forward in the next, at least immediate future?
So the frustration is the sheer amount of speculation that's out there. And it's a bit like, politics when you watch the news, there's so many conflicting arguments. And, for instance, I'll give you a good example of it. This week, I read a report from Brand USA. They had research out and they were like, yeah, Europeans are not going to travel to the US in strong numbers. And the ones that do are really concerned about budgets and they're going to trim down their spending on tours and activities and eating out. And then another report came out this morning that said the opposite. So I'm like, well, what do you do? Right? None of us
knows
know.
nothing about dealing with opposing reports.
I mean, and this is the thing, none of us have a crystal ball. I think the one thing we can all agree on, I think certainly for the next 6 months, got to focus on local. 3 to 4 hour drive, wherever it may be, depending where we are in the country, focus on local, get locals through the door, market to them. You make sure you've got a Google My Business listing so people can find you on Google, change your keywords. And also what I think is really important now, and this is so different, is activities and tours. You need to have an emotional message. You need to reach out to Floridians to say, hey, if you come and book a ticket with us or have the day with us, you're helping keeping 5 people in work.
Yeah.
And I
5
think
of your neighbors. Yeah.
Yeah, because the other aspect of this is we just don't know what the economy is going to be like. All those, people who've been furloughed, are they going to be back in work? Are they going to have budget to travel? What are they going to be able to spend on? Will it be a case they will just stay with friends and family and not a hotel? We just really don't know what that's going to look at. But I think that the key thing here is tours and activities have to market to locals.
I'm thinking about the things we do that Jaime and I have done here in Florida. And let's just take an airboat ride where you have 16 people in an airboat that if they do the social distancing, now you have 8 people in an airboat.
Yeah.
Or even if, to take it another step further, just the one family of 3 on the airboat.
Yeah. And then they have to figure out, that particular operator has to go, can I operate like that?
Absolutely.
Can I operate
Am I
at that
shooting
margin?
myself in the foot? Yeah.
And that's why I think you're going to see a lot of tours, if they're smart, and activities actually creating more private tours, because families might want to say, yeah, we'll pay the extra just for, the 4 of us to go on that particular excursion. I think you're going to see a lot of that happening in the future.
And I know, the most contentious issue right now in the country, I hate to bring it up, we talked about a little earlier in the show, is the whole anti-mask, right? But, we're in Florida where it gets to be 1,000 degrees in the summer and 1,000% humidity, and we die without a mask.
We get swamp ass on our butts because we have to wear underwear.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we got our own issues down here. So, I truly think that's going to deter some people from coming to Florida in the summertime that would normally have come. And I know Disney's going to require it, and Universal's going to require it, and all the big places, they're going to have to liability-wise. Their insurance company's going to insist on it. So that's going to defer people too. It's hot as hell here in Florida in the summer.
I agree. That's the whole hygiene aspect as well. It's like, okay, how do you convince someone? Like you like to think everybody cleans and disinfects, right? You like to think that. And then you see people, do I have photographs with us with masks on or cleaning? And it's like, well, I think you're just going to deter people. I think people are scared anyway. So yeah, I agree with you. But then I think, well, I had a great holiday in Florida. Okay, admittedly, it was in January, so that was scorching hot for Vermonters.
You come down here in August and tell us what you
whole
think.
different experience.
Yeah, but even, we took a cruise and we came back and we did, the Everglades and everything. I mean, it's just a great, great part of the world. And if people are going to come to Florida, they're coming for all your wonderful tours and activities. And
cruising's another issue. That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
Royal Caribbean just took out another $3.3 billion loan and put 28 of their ships up as collateral.
Wow.
So, and 2.4 billion of that went out to pay a previous loan that was due. So it's not like they had a lot left, and they're burning $250 million a month right now.
Incredible.
Not being in operation.
I'm really curious about how the cruise industry will play out, because what I've learned about those who take a cruise is they're fiercely loyal, and they go every year to meet all their friends from around the States, and that's what they do, right? Now,
That's what Glenn does.
That's what I do.
I went on my first cruise in January, and sorry to any of your older listeners, I did feel like I was an extra in that 80s movie Cocoon.
Cocoon. You're
You'd be talking about me.
But we enjoyed it, and I will do it again. But I just wonder how, because that's the target.
Who invited him on this show?
No, I know. Somebody who goes on a lot of cruises and is approaching that age demographic. But you're right.
But
it is that kind of, that
How will they
more,
respond?
the more vulnerable age groups and stuff. I think overall businesses in Florida, regardless of what their business model is, right? We're all going to have to kind of adjust and figure out ways of thinking outside the box and delivering opportunities to gain customers that we normally wouldn't. Like I know, like Dave at Florida Beer Podcast, is a lot of the breweries over there are talking to him about how they've chipped in to start, doing hand sanitizer as part of and for a couple of them, that's become almost their main output at this point. And so, with all these other cruise lines and stuff and tourism and whoever, they're going to have to, just get creative. Like you were mentioning, and that's something I hadn't thought about, is the opportunity to build more of a business model centered around these private tours. But it also made me curious. Okay, clearly I assume only a person of a certain wealth demographic might be able to afford that on a regular basis. So we're going to see influences and impacts in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd love to come back on in 12 months and we can look back and see what actually happened. Because, what I'm trying to do on my show is...
Come back on tomorrow.
I'm trying to avoid the forecast, the predictions, because just none of us really know.
Oh, yeah.
All we can focus on is that local marketing and how can we help people market to locals
then the
more
tour
effectively.
operators, you mentioned it earlier, they have to be concerned that they're taking these deposits for tours and they're taking this money in. Now they have to think, I have to keep that money liquid, that if things get shut down again, if things go south and the state closes again, I got to hold another pile of refunds to ship back out. And that changes your cash flow with a small business. That's hard. Yeah.
Terrifying. There was one food tour company, I think they were operational in 50 cities, literally 2 days in, they closed down. And I found out it's because, they were going to struggle to pay the refunds back. So gone straight away. And that's operational in 50 cities.
Wow.
I think we have it better than some states. And you mentioned the one earlier in being a cruiser, okay, and having done the Alaska cruises and visited Alaska before. Alaska's in a tough boat because they rely on cruise industry and no cruises are going to Alaska this year. Yeah. So they're and then you also take a look at all the Caribbean islands. Jaime and I have been to several of those Caribbean islands that their whole livelihood, it comes off of those ships every day. And that's the only economy they have. And they have to be struggling immensely now.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to them. I mean, I got quite a few listeners in the Caribbean and they're writing, what can we do? What we can do? And I just don't have any answers. I don't, because you've got no cruises coming in. If you're on St. Thomas, how are you going to get business? And all I ask people is, look at your budget, cut all your costs, go into hibernation mode if you can. Obviously, a lot of people have buses and vehicles and airboats, as you mentioned. That's a whole different thing. But if you can go into hibernation and come back out when we're in recovery and, I think just save your money. Don't spend it on marketing or fancy things. Or I see a lot of, you always see this during a crisis where the jackals come out selling these done-for-you courses. And I've seen this in the tour industry. And I'm like, please, whatever you do, don't do that. I saw virtual tours become the new big thing. And they're great for branding. They're great for marketing. They're not good for revenue.
No.
Because nothing will ever, I've done two now. I've gone to Pompeii in Italy with one and I did a changing of the guard, and I enjoyed it. But I'm like, well, it wasn't really much different from a travel documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which you can get for free on YouTube.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. And you're not investing a lot of time in the local economy over there by going out to dinners and doing all the other things that you would normally be doing on that kind of a tour like that. So the impact overall is much lessened. Plus, I imagine that tour companies, they have all these contracts with people who are the restaurant that they bring the tour to, or the after hours place they bring the tour to, et cetera. And so all of that is just breaking down. And I think one thing I've seen a lot of people doing is, like you're talking about, not stopping things altogether, but maybe putting them on hibernation. And then even if that means you have to completely focus on something else for a while just to get it through, picking up one of those essential jobs that are out there that are popping up, whatever you have to do, like keep your actual normal dream alive somehow, but, just figure out a way to retool for the meantime. And, we will come out of this.
We had a lady on the show this week. Great story. It was great to have a success story because it's been a while. She's up in Milwaukee food tours, and she went through that 2 weeks of shock when this hit. Now what she does is she's gone to some of the vendors on her food tours and she's put some of their items into a box, a really nice box. She's got a Taste of Wisconsin box. She had a Cinco de Mayo. She had a Mother's Day box. She's making profit. She's able to keep herself.
She delivers them out to people?
That's great.
Locally, and now she delivers them nationwide.
Oh, that's
and
a
the
great
cool
idea.
thing. And the cool thing about it, she said, I'm making profits. My tour guides are now delivery people in the local area, or they help me box up. And I was listening. I was listening to your last episode with Kermit from Key West.
You love
about his
him.
pies, right? And I was like, wow, if I've been in there and I've had a pie and I really enjoyed it, then I want to help that person out and I want to go and buy the pie.
By
And
the
that's the same
way,
thing.
my
Yeah.
brother bought me a pie and had it sent from Key West for Mother's Day. So this is extraordinarily
Nice.
appropriate. And he may or may not have called my co-host to double check that he was doing a good thing.
And he heard about it on this show, actually. So,
But I have a question to ask you, right? Because
Yeah.
I looked into it. I've had key lime pie, but I'm not sure if it's the key lime pie, right? So maybe I've never had a proper one.
He's
but
the key lime pie with real key lime juice.
$39 for a pie and then $50 shipping on top. I'm like, that's some pie at
Let me
94
tell
bucks
you.
a pop.
It's worth it.
my
I savored every bite.
my parents would pay that to have lobster shipped from Maine. So
There you go. We each have our own thing.
Shane, what's the website? Where can people hear your show?
At tourpreneur.com. So it's like entrepreneur, but tourpreneur.com.
And it's usually a little livelier than more positive than our conversation today, where things are opening up. So it's gonna go one of two ways. We're gonna see which way it goes, and we're gonna know in 2 months, right? So
yeah.
I think we all just have to pray, keep our fingers crossed that when things open up, we're not hit with this second wave. I was just reading about a Ford car plant up in Michigan that's reopened. Now they've had 3 COVID cases. And to be honest with you, that's the nightmare here. If we open things back up and then the infections go up again. So I'm sorry to end on a negative note, but, that's why we have to be conservative with opening up. It's killing our businesses. It's awful. We all want to go back to normal, but it's got to be gradual.
I'm going to end on a positive. The quote unquote cure that they found in California is going to animal testing right now. And that'll be human testing shortly. And the vaccines are doing very well in human testing. So that's, hopefully in a couple of months we have.
Mama is cooped up.
And Mama gets grouchy when she's cooped up.
Oh, do I ever?
I'm telling you, I feel sorry for all those families in those small Manhattan apartments. I used to live in one,
Yeah. I have a farm. I'm happy. I got horses.
You have a farm and no kids, Glenn. Shut up.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you. Take care.
Flintstone Media has been the digital bedrock of several Florida brands and businesses. Serving as a highly resourceful podcast production house, work with a leader in Florida's podcasting industry and add a podcast to your brand's content offerings. From setup through recording and distribution, Jaime will lend her experience producing over 500 episodes and make the process of creating your show simple and easy for you. Visit flintstonemedia.com for podcast samples. That's flintstonemedia.com. Well, coming up next, I have a very special surprise for Jaime. And I got to put the show together today, which meant I could do whatever I wanted.
Let me tell you, it's only because, Glenn, you're smart. You knew to wait till I was at like the most critically busiest time in my life where all these things are bubbling up business-wise. And you said, hey, let me put the show together this week. And I said, okay, with zero resistance. You were smart. So now I'm in for it. Let's see what you plan.
We are going to do the first ever Finding Florida Great Florida Trivia Challenge. And your competitor is going to arrive shortly, and I have not told her who it is. So our guest is here, Jaime, and let me bring him on so you can see who you're playing the Great Florida Trivia Challenge against. And
what? This guy? This guy. All right. First of all, talk about stacking the deck against me. Good Lord. Just tell the people who we brought.
Jonathan Oakes is here from Trivial Warfare, one of the most popular trivia shows in the world.
In other words, Jemmy's going to lose.
He's in the Trivia Hall of Fame. And this is the point where I get
to
Jaime
Jeopardy,
back for everything she's ever done.
You have your name in a board game. This is not fair. This is not fair.
And yet, I've probably lost more games of trivia than anybody else in the Hall of Fame.
Because you've played more games of trivia than anybody else in the Hall of
Good point.
Well, okay, you know what? I can't argue with that. That's really good logic.
Jonathan Oakes is here. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today and playing a little Florida trivia. Now, it's ironic, and well, Jonathan is almost from Florida. He's
Almost.
in Jacksonville, which kind of we consider part of Georgia.
Yeah, we consider
Those
it
of
part of
us in
Florida
southern
only
Florida.
when they're being good.
We're the country part of Florida.
Yes, and we hope to get there someday. And when quarantines are over, one of our stops this year was going to be Jacksonville, and one of our stops was going to be your place to sit in live on a Trivial Warfare show.
Oh, that'll be so much fun.
That was our goal. If we ever can actually visit each other again, we'll do that.
You guys can be on my team.
As
You
long
can
as they're
sit
all
at the
Florida
table.
questions or horse questions, we're good.
If it ends up involving plexiglass between us, so be it.
Yeah. Jonathan, so this is the way we're playing it. Jemmy,
Yes.
you are competing against each other. I have 10 questions. You're each going to get 5. You have the opportunity. I don't know how Jonathan plays his show. It's been so long, I don't remember. So we're going to play with my rules.
Sure.
So I will ask you the question. You have a chance to answer. Your opponent has the chance to steal if you screw it up. Okay?
Okay.
So that's how we're playing. Are you ready? And I think we should go. Should we do ladies first, Jonathan?
Oh,
Should we?
absolutely.
Yes. All right. Good. All right. I said that so I don't get in trouble later.
Yep.
I just like the idea that I get to steal from a lady.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, he's merciless. He doesn't care who's playing.
Oh boy.
He does pub trivia. That's just ruthless there.
Yeah.
I
All
have a
right.
beer, by the way. If only I could throw it at you when the time is appropriate.
I wish you could throw it at me. That'd be amazing. I feel like I'm beerless right now.
Here we go. First question, Jemmy.
Yes.
TripAdvisor looked at millions of reviews from members of the world's largest travel site to see what states had the most reviews, the best reviews, and the highest number of barbecue joints, which we have attended a few around this state in our travels. How many, it's a multiple choice, how many of the top 10 barbecue spots in the country were in Florida? None, 1, 3, or 6?
Ooh, that's a good one because there's heavy competition around the country. I can think of Mississippi, I can think of Texas. But my mouth is already salivating thinking of a couple of spots. So I'm going to say 3.
Ding, 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 ding,
Yay!
ding. Well
Whoa.
done.
That's how I roll. Bread roll with some brisket.
I'm shocked by that. So I was thinking about Kansas City barbecue, Texas barbecue, Carolina barbecue. There's a lot of good barbecue out there.
There's a lot out there, but
So is Florida number 1 with 3?
No, it is not,
Oh.
because they did rank them in all different ways, but we do have 3 of the top 10. And Reuben's Steakhouse in Fort Myers is number 4. Captain's Barbecue in the Palm Coast is number 6. And number 8 is Buck's Smokehouse in Destin, Florida. And Destin is a place I want to get to at some point. I don't know if you ever been there, Jonathan?
No, and none of those are close enough for me to drive there for dinner.
That's true.
but I have a feeling, Glenn, you just added 3 new adventures to our
I
Florida
did. I want to get
trip.
to Destin because Destin is
I'm-
going to come up a little later too, I think.
I'm really good at eating, and so if anybody wants to pay me to come eat for you, I'm down with
There you
that.
go.
Yeah, you
want
need
to
to travel
know.
with us. People do that with us.
There we go,
Pay us to
see?
eat there. So all right, I'm going to give Jemmy. You got 1. You get a bonus if you
Ooh.
can name the number 1 state for barbecue.
Ooh, see, Jonathan,
I just gave you
just
3.
you just gave me 3, but I'm going to stick to Mississippi. I don't know. Dang
No
it.
way.
Tennessee, number 1.
Tennessee, so Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis.
Are they the
Memphis
dry
barbecue.
rub kind or are they the wet rub kind?
They're a little bit of. You can get almost anything you want in Tennessee, but
There
it's
you go.
good. We've eaten barbecue in Tennessee. All right, Jonathan. It is now 1-0. You are the nothing. So, second
I
question.
feel like I'm in high school
So much
again.
love.
According to an article by Condé Nast, data was procured from Google Maps photo uploader tool to find the 10 most photographed places in the country. Can you name the 2 Florida locations that made the top 10?
Ooh.
Oh my
I know
goodness.
this. I know this.
I have to name both of them, huh?
Yes.
So
Most
know this.
photographed places. How detailed are we? Are we talking like city or physical? Because
If you get the city, I'll be happy. Or
yeah, because I
cities,
gotta
mean.
say that probably like the Cinderella's castle at Disney World would be
Ding, ding, ding,
one of
ding.
them.
Disney is number 1. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
gonna
and
say
then,
that.
honestly, the next one, I would say South Beach.
Can I tell you what my
Oh,
answer is before you
no.
tell me? Oh no, I have a chance to steal. I'll keep quiet.
You do have a chance to steal, Jaime. So we know that he got one of them. What's the other?
I'm gonna guess it's the southernmost point in Key West.
Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, wow. Great job.
It is
Apparently, they
actually-
don't want you to know what's happening in South Beach. They don't take pictures.
Nope.
No pictures
Nope.
allowed.
No pictures. No pictures.
We went on an adventure down to South Beach, and she wouldn't let me go to the beach to oogle the bikini.
No.
Can you believe that?
You can oogle the bikinis in a store. You're supposed to go to the beach to oogle the women.
Jennifer, your wife.
I wasn't even allowed, Jonathan. She's really mean to me.
But when we went to the southernmost point, I remember there was also a ridiculous line. And I'm like, I don't
Oh
have
my
time
God.
for this. And I just ran up and we took a picture. We had 10 stops to go to in one day. I don't have time.
All right. That was Jemmy for the steal.
Great job.
Thank you.
Good job, Jemmy. Number 3 is to Jemmy. Florida has some hidden gems all over the state, as we've discovered in our travels.
And one of
some
them is on
record-
the microphone right now.
Oh, thank you.
She wouldn't have said that if she was losing. And some record-breaking ones, too. Is one of them the largest Burger King, the longest stretch of beach, or the largest swimming pool?
Ooh. Okay, so the longest stretch of beach sounds very tempting, but I feel like that must be California. But that's just what were the other two choices?
You have the largest Burger King or the largest swimming pool.
I'm going to go with the largest Burger King because I have a feeling there might be a really big one in South Beach. I know there's a really there it's like a McDonald's or a Burger King or something, or maybe it's out in Orlando, but I feel like I've seen a ridiculously large fast food restaurant a time or two. Thank it.
All right, Jonathan.
I'm taking the one that sounds like a gimme, and I'm going to say the longest stretch of beach.
You were both wrong. By the way, the longest stretch of beach is Brazil. Has the longest. It's like 150
That's
miles.
not
of beach.
America.
That's not even in the
shouldn't
US,
be
dude.
This is in the world. I said world record. You missed
Oh,
that
you
part.
did?
World record. Yeah.
Details.
So we have the largest swimming pool. It's the Venetian pool, which is in Coral Gables, Florida. It's actually in a quarry. It's a freshwater pool, and it has 800,000 gallons of fresh water that comes in naturally every day.
Wow.
It's huge. You can swim in a grotto. They have underwater caves that you can swim into. We need to go here. We haven't been to this one either. It's on the National Register of Historic Places in 1981.
You thought you almost lost me at Crystal River. What about this thing? An underwater cave? Come on.
I've got a bonus question for you, Glenn.
Okay.
Burger King was founded, first Burger King in which Florida city?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with Pensacola.
Jimmy?
I'm going to be completely random and say Wikiwachi.
It's the city that I'm sitting in right here.
Oh, really? Jacksonville?
Burger King was founded in Jacksonville.
I didn't know that.
Wow. Interesting. So if I hadn't said Burger King is my guess, would that have been your guess?
I probably would have guessed it. We have a 2-story tall Burger King down the road here. It's a pretty big Burger King.
The largest, Jemmy, the one you were thinking about, we have passed it 100 times on our adventures. It is the largest McDonald's in the country. It's in Orlando.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn it,
I
McDonald's.
did that because I knew she would remember that big fast food place.
You know
and I
what,
was hoping
Glenn?
she would
Next
put it
question.
together. All right. So it's still 2-0. Jonathan, you're up. We have all heard of glass bottom boats, but in what town in Florida has a glass bottom bar? And this is multiple choice. Pensacola, Key West, Key Largo, or Daytona Beach?
Man, I was hoping he was going to say Destin because he said it's going to come back up. I was waiting for Destin to show up. All right, you said Key Largo,
Pensacola, Key West, Key Largo, or Daytona Beach?
glass
Has a
bottom
bottom
bar.
bar. You can look at the fishy swim under your feet while you get drunk.
Do you know how paranoid and freaked out I would get if I saw that? No, thank you.
So I'm gonna use a little game theory here. So you guys visited the Keys because you mentioned being there, and so if there was a glass bottom bar in Key West or Key Largo, I would think that you went and visited it. And since Jimmy doesn't seem to remember that, I'm going to eliminate the Keys.
Look at you.
That doesn't mean that I've done a good thing. It might be one of the keys.
I
There's a
didn't
lot
say I
of
wasn't
keys.
looking at you and
There's
pointing
a
and
lot of
laughing. I'm just
keys.
saying, look at you.
my other choices were Pensacola and Daytona.
Yeah.
They're both kind of country. I'm going to go with Pensacola. God bless it.
Is it-
Jimmy for the steal.
I'm just gonna guess Daytona. I have no idea.
Oh, my logic was bad.
You were
Don't-
because
Jimmy,
we
you set me up.
we did not go to Key Largo. We went to Key West. So it was Key Largo. And it's the Pilot House Marina there in beautiful Key Largo. And there's about 1,000 downs through the Keys there. So yes, and it's highly recommended actually. They said that, you can basically look down at the fish and the servers will bring you oatmeal so you can feed the fish.
Well, you can feed them through the glass?
They have little holes, I guess you drop the feed
Oh
down.
my
I don't know.
God.
Yeah, we have to go there if we get to Key Largo.
Yeah, we do.
All right, so it's still 2-0.
Getting
And
my
I think-
rear end kicked by the Florida expert. Good job.
Jemmy, Florida has the distinction of being home to some bizarre world records.
Mm-hmm.
I really dug for these trivia questions.
Yeah, you
should be
did.
proud of me, Jonathan.
Hey, you did work.
Yeah. Which one of these world records was done in Florida? The farthest arrow shot using your feet?
Did you just say farthest?
He did furthest.
The farthest using your feet? The most tricks performed by a pig? Or the most cherry stems knotted in 3 minutes?
Well, I have to guess the cherry stem knotted one because I've seen you knot a cherry stem and I'm inspired by your work, my friend. I'm
Ding,
gonna
ding, ding. You got
on.
that one.
Come on. This is rigged.
I'm not the world record holder. Al Glenicki of Gulf Breeze knows his way around a cherry stem because with his tongue, he tied 39 cherry stems in 3 minutes to set a
Wow.
world record, and then set a record for the most cherry stems tied in 1 minute at 14.
Wow.
But how many can he untie? Hmm?
That's the real
It's a
trick.
different record. By the way, Florida also, for future trivia questions, Florida also has the longest marathon playing badminton, the largest gathering of people dressed as scientists, the largest collection of flamingo-related items. Big surprise there. The fastest mile ran while hula hooping,
Of course.
and the largest gathering of people dressed as Ninja Turtles. So we can be
Wow.
proud of our state.
I may
Did
have
the
been to that
Ninja
last
Turtles-
one. I was at a movie premiere for one of the Ninja Turtles movies, and some of those fans are crazy. So I may have been there.
I wonder if they doubled up the awards or the record and literally had the Ninja Turtles wear lab coats.
There you go.
That way you
Yeah.
set both at the same time.
Hey,
Yeah.
now
While
you're talking.
doing cherry stems with their tongues.
I mean, I'm still back on the cherry stems. You could set that record by being like his wife untying them with your mouth after he ties them with his mouth. It's
All
like,
right,
here,
we're
give me
moving
that.
on now because Jonathan's getting weird on us. So
Someone's
up
been
next?
confined a little too
Jonathan's
long.
up next. Jonathan, do you play golf?
Very poorly, so not often.
Yeah, me too. Florida has more golf courses than any other state. How many does it have? Multiple choice.
God.
550, 1,200, or 1,425?
I'll take the biggest number.
It
God
is
bless
not
it.
your day here.
Jonathan!
Hey, man. Hey, these this isn't the stuff I study. What do you want?
This is one for the books, my friend.
All right, Jemmy, we have 550 or 1,200.
Well, I'm just going to do opposite logic. 550. I don't think it's way too low, but yeah.
Okay,
It was
I'm
a
going to
high
offer you
number.
both a chance to get the next one. Use your name as the buzzer.
Ooh.
Either one of you can
Ooh.
buzzer in. Use your name as the buzzer.
I'm ready to fight you, Jonathan. I got this.
What city is the World Golf Hall of Fame?
Jonathan.
Jonathan.
No, I
St.
got it.
Augustine.
St. Augustine is correct.
Oh, good, because that's not what I was going to guess. I was going to say Palm Beach Gardens.
I knew Jonathan would get that.
I
one 'cause
worked at the
he lives
PGA
up there.
for like 3 minutes long when I was maybe 18. So I thought
All right, we have a couple more questions. This one comes next to Jemmy, right?
I don't know. I think so.
Yes. Which of the following products is Florida not number one in producing in the
Hmm.
United States?
Okay.
So this is the double negative that I always hated in those tests you had to take to go to college. We're not number one in tomatoes, grapefruit, snap beans, broccoli, or oranges.
Oh, come on. Quite the list. You know what?
Well, I
I'm
gave
just
it to
gonna I'm
you.
just gonna be a rebel and I'm gonna go with the least likely answer and just say oranges. Screw it, why not?
Jonathan, chance to steal. Do you want the list again? Tomatoes, grapefruit, snap beans, or broccoli? We're not number one.
We're not number one in broccoli.
Ding, 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 ding. That's correct. We are not
Jonathan
number one in
makes the
broccoli. I
board.
think it's California, actually. It's number one in broccoli. But I didn't know we were number one in snap beans.
Shoot, I didn't know we were number one in anything.
That's
except
exactly what I was
citrus.
gonna say.
Lemons, limes, grapefruits. I'm down with that.
Jonathan's catching up. It's now 3-2.
Nope, won't be for long.
Jemmy,
Mhm.
Florida's known for its state and national parks and wetlands, which we have been to quite a few of.
Mhm.
The Everglades, for example, is the largest at 1.2 million acres. But what is the site of America's first national wildlife refuge?
Oh, this is not multiple choice.
And it's a Florida park.
Florida Park.
They're
Getting tougher as we go.
What's that place called where it's next to Crystal Rivers? It's the Daughters something. I don't know. All right, Crystal River, because it's on my mind.
Any idea, Jonathan?
I'm gonna guess the Swanee River.
Oh, that's a good guess.
That was a good guess, actually, but it's wrong.
All right.
So actually, it's right up the street from Jemmy on the coast. It's Pelican Island.
Oh, that
I'm
sounds
not aware
lovely.
of Pelican Island.
Neither am I, but it sounds lovely.
Yeah, you should get out more often,
know.
Jemmy.
You could do a drive-through.
That's
and
right,
Stay
that's
safe from
right.
quarantine. By the way, driving in Florida is a really great thing to do while you're stuck, like in quarantine. You can go see some really cool stuff without getting out of your car.
That is very true. Some
True.
great lighthouses, ocean
The traffic
fronts.
hasn't been a nightmare either. So.
Right.
That's true. All right, two more questions. We're back to Jonathan. What Florida town is known as the fern capital of the world? That's FERN, capital of the world.
Oh, I don't get multiple
Doesn't
choice.
sound like anywhere I
Holy
wanna go.
crap.
I told you it's getting harder.
The fern capital of the world, a Florida town.
85% of all floral ferns sold in the United States are grown here. 85%.
Holy moly.
It's an $80
Wow.
million business.
I'm going to guess Destin.
I really threw you with the Destin thing. No, it is not Destin.
It was as good a guess as any, to be honest with you.
Now that I'm looking, I actually think I threw the Destin thing out. So
You son of a gun.
I've played on your show before. I know how it works.
I threw it out.
Jemmy,
Oh, for the steal? Oh, goodness. I'm just going to say, because I really have zero idea whatsoever. I'm trying to think of Central Florida. You know what? I'm going to say Ocala just for the fun of it. Is it
I
Ocala?
almost said Ocala.
you're almost there too. It's on the other side of the Ocala National Forest. It's a town called Pearson.
Oh.
And they actually raise
Okay,
in Pearson,
see, not
Florida,
fair.
85%.
You need multiple choice when the answer is something that neither one of us has ever heard of.
6,200 acres of ferns. So,
Golly.
there you go. All right, Jemmy, this is it. If you don't get this, he can steal for a tie.
No, it's not happening.
This is multiple choice. I'm being nice on the last one. What is Florida's state bird? The flamingo, the spoonbill, the cardinal, or the northern mockingbird?
So I don't believe it's the flamingo, as much as that would seem appropriate.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I'm going to say the mockingbird. I don't know.
Ding, ding, ding. You're right. It's the
okay,
northern
Cue
mockingbird.
the Rocky music. Dun-dun, dun.
That was incredible. Glenn, you are bad
Can we
luck
just
for me in
Can we
trivia,
just know
dude.
for the record, I pulled all my right answers literally out my butt. Like I know none of that.
We have a word for that on my show.
What is
Oh.
it?
It's called pulling a Jonathan.
Well, I pulled a Jonathan today.
I have been known to get lucky at trivia a time or two.
It's phenomenal.
Today, unfortunately, was not one of those days.
No,
Aw.
somebody did it to me.
Poor
He is
Jonathan.
never going to let me near one of his shows again.
Oh my God, you are like a brain
A
dampening system.
kryptonite. We love you, Jonathan. Where can people listen to your show?
You can find us at trivialwarfare.com. Actually, we have 4 different game shows. We have Trivial Warfare. We have Trivial Warfare Blitz. Blitz is a short form 10 to 15 minute game with rapid fire questions. We have a game called Foreplay. Everybody wants to be the champion of Foreplay.
Heck yeah.
That's FOUR.
From what I've heard that Glenn can do with a cherry stem, I mean, carry on.
Foreplay is a game of connections. It's a game where one thing always leads to another.
Interesting.
And last but not least, we have a game called Things That Are Blank that is very similar. It's like if you took the $100,000 pyramid and smashed it together with a game of Taboo, that's what Things That Are Blank are. They're all great. They're all fun. We have different hosts. We do a lot of different stuff.
I got to try Things That Are Blank. I got to try
Things That Are Blank is great. We put 2 people on teams with each other, and one of them has a list of words they need the other person to say, but they can't use any of the words on the list.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They can say anything they want,
So it
except
is like
what's on
the
that list.
pyramid.
It's like the pyramid, and it's like Taboo.
Yeah, interesting. Let me tell
It's
you,
a lot of
I'm
fun.
I'm feeling myself now that I've won against you, Jonathan. So I'd love to come on and try to see if I can get a winning streak going.
Oh my God, you're dangerous. You're dangerous.
I know, right? Careful what you wish for, Jaime.
Well, when we come up to Jacksonville, when we finally are allowed out of the house and come up and do Jacksonville, we would love to sit in on a show with you. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. You are 100%
We don't even have
invited.
to play. We just want to watch or just be there to.
No, hey, if you're in the room, you're gonna play. I got room for 4. We can make that happen.
So
All right,
let me
well,
ask you a
definitely.
quick question. If people want to find your self mohawk tutorial, where do they go?
You know what? I did post. If you go to @Trivial Warfare on TikTok, one of the very first videos I
No way,
did
you
was
really
a little.
did?
Yeah, I have like a 1-minute montage of me doing the hair.
Just kidding. Oh my God, that's great.
No, it's out there for sure. Anything you do in your life is potential content.
That's true. That's true. Well, it looks phenomenal.
Thanks,
Thank
Jonathan.
you.
Trivial Warfare is where you can find him and all those other shows too.
Well, thanks for coming along with us once again as we continue finding Florida, even in the midst of this outbreak, this confinement. But we're getting out there little by little, and we're doing everything that we can to keep the information accurate, our spirits up. So we're going to be continuing to share all the content that we've been sharing across our shows to help us get through this time. We're going to try to make it more informational and lighter and fun as we just keep trekking along here. So be sure to check out all of our shows, but also check out our Facebook group, FPN Insiders. That's where you can connect with us and get to know us all the time. And it's on Facebook. So head over there and check us out and hang out with us. But also head to floridapodcastnetwork.com/coronavirus. That's where you're going to find all of the resources and information that are local to you to continue to help you through all of this stuff.
And if you know of any cool news, especially of the travel and fun, whatever that's going on in Florida right now, and something maybe helping light our moods, or maybe you got out and actually got to do something, let us know. We'll have you on the show.
I'm still peeking out through my window, so please share your fun with us.
Email Jaime at jaime@floridapodcastnetwork.com.
And even with social distancing that some of us are still trying to adhere to as best we can, you can still hang out with us on social media. Just search for Find FL Podcast.
And here's to your next Florida adventure, whether it be on the couch or out the door.